Yeah, I'm gonna give you some information like from our company documents. If we cannot agree on something, there's a breakdance battle happening.
Well, no breakdance battles happen in this episode, spoiler alert, but that little line tells you a lot about Fábio. The work is serious, the process stays human, and collaboration doesn't have to feel heavy. Today's guest is Fábio Ferreira, the co-founder of Go Banana and a seasoned marketing and design professional whose work is rooted in empathy and clarity. Fábio brings an international perspective, and he focuses on aligning creative thinking with business outcomes to build more meaningful brands. In this conversation, we explore how marketing and design can work more closely together and why human instinct still matters in an increasingly automated world. What we've been doing is starting off with a tangent. So if you've got something on your mind that you want to kind of obsess about for a minute with us, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, so there's two things. One is I was checking my closets and I realized that I have a MIDI keyboard controller, those Akai ones just to make music. So I got back into my GarageBand sessions. So yeah, I've been doing a little bit of things here and there with that. And the other thing is just like I've been obsessed with Go Banana. I've been obsessed with growing the company now, and we're just thinking of ways and trying to talk to people about it.
Nice.
But yeah,
have you been working on a theme song now that you're?
Exactly. Maybe I'll make a jingle.
Yeah, totally. Or at least like a little audio ident at the end of Go Banana. You can like try something with the MIDI controller.
Yes, especially since it comes from the part of it comes from The Simpsons. I can grab the time that Ralph says "Go Banana," just make that into a MIDI sound.
Yeah, totally. That's a great idea. I know we're joking about it, but I think you should explore that a little bit more.
And I love it.
Oh, that's super cool. I love discovering stuff like that, and it just draws you down a rabbit hole of either like nostalgia or just something to explore in a bit of a creative way that's different from your day-to-day.
Yeah, for sure.
I know you mentioned Go Banana, so that's your new-ish now venture. Do you want to explain what Go Banana is and what your role is there?
Yeah, Go Banana is a marketing and design agency. Is co-founded by me and my partner Elaine. We work with small and medium-sized businesses. We're empathy driven, and we want to bring our corporate experience and make it available for the smaller and medium-sized businesses in Canada.
Nice. What does empathy driven mean to you guys? What are you doing with that?
Yeah, this is the other part that people ask us what that is. So yeah, it's about us really understanding what the client wants and needs, understanding their clients, not working with this cookie cutter packages where client comes to you for a need and you just tell them like, hey, we have these 3 tiers and you have to, and let's see which one you fit in. It's more like, okay, how can we customize the experience for you? How can we really get into the nitty gritty and help you with your problem?
That's interesting. So is there a recent project you've been working on where you had to kind of tailor what your approach is to really help affect their business?
One of the first projects we worked on, it was this branding project that it started with a conversation with our personal trainer that they had a logo that they wanted for their new business. This is a personal training business, and they used AI. They were also working with a designer, but they were saying like, "Oh, the designer is not getting back to me. AI is not getting exactly what I want." So
I think AI is probably missing a bit of empathy potentially.
Exactly. So we just sat down with him and then understood, like we definitely looked at what he built in AI, because you have to put a lot of prompt into it. So you're already putting a lot of you're already getting some of what you want. We understood the pain points that he was having with the designer, which was like not the designer not being available, kind of spacing out the conversation. And yeah, we just jumped in. We worked with what he had. We looked into his customers. We looked at what really the need was, and we ended up developing the brand for him, brand guideline. Then we came up with a website with it, and now we're on a retainer with him. So that approach kind of paid off.
Yeah, it's interesting you said that he'd been trying to communicate his ideas into like software, into the AI.
Yeah.
So he had been putting inputs in that were probably useful to you. Was he like creating a brief essentially, but then the outputs just weren't aligning with what he had hoped to achieve?
Yeah, he definitely ended up creating a brief, but the problem is that if it started with us, we would have questions. We would start with questions, and the ChatGPT is kind of they ask you questions too, but you start with a prompt, and then it kind of, if you don't tell ChatGPT to not tell you what you want to hear, then ChatGPT will try to agree with you. So yeah, it was missing that part and that conversation with another person as well. They can be like, hey, this might not work. This is too, for example, the logo was based on the Vitruvian Man from Da Vinci, and that's too detailed to be in a logo. Like, you cannot scale it. Yeah, ChatGPT was producing something along that way, and we were able to have the conversation. Be like, okay, we can start with that, but then we have to start taking some details out. Yeah, there was that lack of human interaction in the conversation.
Well, it's kind of interesting you say, because it's always going to give you that positive answer and not really challenge you. But I think there's also, you have a wealth of, knowledge and experience and history doing this. So there's also a filter there of when someone is sharing ideas with you or, giving you their perspective, you have the ability to kind of select and choose what pieces of information are going to be valuable and useful to move forward with.
That's
so I
true.
think if you're not trained in design or marketing, it's really challenging when somebody gives you a whole bunch of what looks like really great answers. It's really hard to filter that, I would imagine.
Yeah, totally.
And then you went to school in Portugal?
Yeah. Like, I started studying graphic design in high school, actually. There are two art schools in Portugal. One is in Porto, one is in Lisbon. Or arts schools, like high schools. There's a bunch of others for college and all that stuff. So yeah, I started there, and then started with a generic art course in the first year, and then the last 2 years you choose your path, and I chose graphic design. So I started there, then went to university and started my career freelancing, then Madrid, and then here.
I think it's awesome that you have such international experience between Madrid and Portugal and now here in Canada. Just curious if you see any cultural differences between working in Portugal and now working here in Canada.
I think it's very easy in Portugal, for example, to either working in a company and having your coworkers and building those relationships, to actually working with a client as a business owner and get invited to their place for dinner. Like, it's not uncommon to happen. It's very easy to go from meeting a stranger and becoming pal right away. Like, if people get along, they will want to have you in their lives. So I feel like it's touching on that point. Like, I feel like there's a little bit more warmth in Portugal and in Spain, but that can also open a can of worms, because here it's very easy to keep like a distance, and if something doesn't go as you plan, you can pull away and part ways and still be in good terms. And when you start mixing a personal relationship, then it's like, oh, this guy sucks, and yeah, I'm not gonna recommend it to anyone. So yeah, from the warmth, it's nicer there. From the professional part, I feel like we're more protected here by having that distance that takes longer to build that kind of relationship. In company, I feel like we could use a little bit more of the Portuguese and Brazilian approach, where like, yeah, I just met you and I work with you, and this weekend you coming for barbecue in my place. So, but from a business owner, I feel more protected here, because I don't feel like I necessarily need to engage in those relationships. It's not expected.
It's funny though, because like, as a business owner, when you're thinking about doing, I'll use the bad word, sales, your actual goal though is to like build relationships with people.
True.
Right? So
yeah,
there's this kind of like funny push and pull between that idea that you're bringing up.
But yeah, you want to work with someone, you want to connect on the personal level, but there's still like a thin wall that keeps that healthy distance. And yeah, in Portugal things can get really close really, really soon. where people start expecting favors and all that stuff, you know?
Yes.
Oh, you're my friend now. You're my buddy. And here, I feel like, okay, you can get close and go for meals and all that stuff, but still, like, yeah, you're a professional. I'm a professional. We're not buddies and not gonna do your marketing campaign for free. You know, yeah.
When you go into like the business side of it and you're working with clients and stuff like that, I think some people you just kind of naturally click with and you're like, oh, we could be friends. And then that progresses. And some of our like long-term clients are also friends with me. And some of them are varying degrees of friendship, like you described. But I think that's natural. It's interesting though that you, like you say, the favor thing gets into the mix and whatnot. And where did you work when you were in Madrid?
I worked in a company called Makita. It's like a power tool company. Some people know it, some people don't. It's one of the biggest.
Oh my God! Yeah, Makita is the kind of teal blue brand, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, they make fantastic power tools. So power tools are something I know, but yeah, it's a fantastic brand. Actually, it's one of the most reliable. That's for sure.
Funny story. When I decided to move to Canada, they gave me a heated jacket, like a battery powered heated jacket.
Oh, nice.
They're like, yeah, you're going to be cold there, so here's a heated powered jacket for you.
That is a fantastic parting gift.
Yeah, that was really sweet.
Yeah. What kind of practical things were you working on?
Designing new collateral, updating collateral, website was like the maintenance. I was doing translations as well from Portuguese to Spanish and vice versa. Taking product photography
across their entire tool lineup.
It was more about the small pieces of the like every single individual piece of each machine, because there was like also we had a warehouse and a repair workshop. So we need to take pictures of all the different parts of each machine. Then there was like a booth design as well. Makita also owned, and I don't know if it still owns, but it owned the Dolmar, which was a chainsaw and like it's for gardening tools. So we also do that part.
So you moved from working at Makita, you came to Toronto after that?
Yeah.
And then you guys didn't start Go Banana immediately upon you arriving?
No. Elaine and I met like almost 2 years ago. So I've been here for 9. So yeah, I moved here. It was a personal choice. And then I really had to start my career again, kind of. So I had to get the experience. I took some courses, and yeah, then I landed a job in a tech company. That was my first full-time job, then freelancing, then Go Banana.
Mm-hmm. And did you get into like doing UX design and stuff like that at the tech company?
Yeah, I did a little bit. Like I kind of started that in the marketing department, because the tech company had their UX team for the product, and I studied UX and I was really interested in it. So I started as a graphic designer and eventually grew into a senior graphic designer and UX specialist. And then I had another senior designer that was a UI specialist. So I ended up implementing a little bit of things, but never worked like in specific, like in product design, for example. It was mostly on the website and helping out with some questions that people might have.
Is there anything where you see like the UX and the marketing conversation kind of overlap? Are there any stories around that?
They definitely overlap on the customer experience part, and they overlap in the research. We kind of do the same research with different goals, but one is to improve the product, the other one is to sell the product, position the product. But yeah, there's a lot of like the user research, the market research, the user journey. You can trace the user journey for a product as you can trace it for a buying journey. Like, and they kind of need to be working together at a certain point, not in the whole process, but that information needs to be passed along so that everyone is not working in a silo.
Yeah, I mean, I guess trying to improve the product would naturally then need to be communicated by marketing.
Exactly.
Is there any moments in time where you think the best experience maybe fights with the business goals, or does the business goal come first or something? Like how does that play out?
So in school, they tell you that the user comes first, and then you start working and the business comes first. So yeah, your role ends up being to do the best user experience possible within the ballposts of the business goal. It would work well if there was unlimited funds, but yeah, there's a goal and there's like this limited funds. So you got to make choices along the way.
Can you make that practical? Is there like an example you have of where the business goals maybe you felt were fighting with the best user experience?
Maybe not business goals, but having a hands-on CEO. Yes, where he had an idea of how to make a better experience or maybe it was these goals. So that got in the way of the way that the team was envisioning the website to be. So it ended up being a website that we didn't agree much on how the user experience went. So it was rough.
Yeah, I mean, feedback is challenging, I think, for some people. And is there a way, like, you think that could have been tackled a little bit better, that the outcome maybe the team would have felt more confident in?
I think it needs the team structure and the higher ups to be a little bit more tough in like defending the team. So sometimes that happens, that managers and directors end up being like they're also on the side of the company, so they end up not having the back of their workers a little bit. So I feel like if that happened, that could have smoothed the whole thing a little bit more. Because my experience is if a CEO is dealing with an individual contributor, they listen more to a director than the designer. Like I can have really good points, but it gets muffled by my job title. That can help a lot if we have a boss that knows how to manage egos and pushback.
Now with Go Banana, I guess you're getting the feedback more directly from the clients. Yeah.
It feels kind of easier because it's there's no layers. I'm dealing directly with the client. There's also like a lot of things get distorted if it goes through a bunch of layers, right?
I mean, a lot of the job is translation, going from
exactly.
Abstract conversations with clients to try and determine how you're going to make something tangible for them. I find, at least with the work we do, every stage the project goes through, whether it's going from the brief to maybe having a discovery call where we sort of help shape some ideas together, that is a translation moment. And then even when you go from like a script to a storyboard, that's another translation moment. I'm just wondering do you guys have a similar thing maybe when you're working on kind of the marketing side and then you're translating some of the strategy and goals from that into your design work?
That actually happens in the marketing side for sure, when we're writing content too, because you're listening to the client explaining what the company is, who do they serve, and then you have to simplify things. And then that's already a translation there. And then when you go in and you start developing the visuals, like let's say for a website, we're doing a website now for a health tech company, and there's the tech part, but there's also the health part. So we got examples they were very techy, and I was like, okay, but like we got to put the health part here as well. There's a little bit of education as well, showing like, okay, this color gives this feeling based on all this research that has been done. This CTA color works better because of all this research that is done. Like people click more on a green button versus a gray button. Yeah, I would say there's a lot of education and backing up things with data.
You were kind of talking a little bit about the handoff between the research that was happening on the marketing with how that impacts the design. And I'm just wondering if there's some key information that you usually like to get from marketing that helps you do your best work.
All the information I can get from who the demographics, the market, what the problem is. Like there's questions that even we asked the client right away. It's like trying to get to the root of the problem. So like anything that can give me an idea of a clear idea of who the persona is, so that I can design for it. Like, and that applies to graphic design as well.
Yeah, I think like a lot of times clients don't see design as something that is strategic. Mm-hmm. But I think when you start going through the process that you're describing, the decisions that are made are not arbitrary. They're made to appeal to the specific customers at specific times in their buying journeys. So the way you and Elaine have structured the company is actually quite interesting, because a lot of times marketing is done separately and then design is happening over here. But you guys, sounds like, are in sync with each other. That union, I think, of the two disciplines is quite unique. Have you guys seen some opportunities that have come up as a result of that are maybe different than when you were working as a freelance designer?
Having a marketing and design agency, sometimes people come to us for marketing and they actually need design work as well. So that opens that possibility of offering rather a service, and it's not only beneficial for us, it's beneficial for the client because they get everything done by the same people at the same time or with the closer cadence. And it's the same people dealing with the project instead of going from one team doing the marketing side and then having to communicate everything to another team that is the design team. The fact that we work together and we understand each other's processes makes it easier to provide that service to our clients.
It goes back to what we were talking about with the translation. You're basically saying there that things do not get lost in translation.
Exactly.
Because you guys are working in step with each other. Our business, I'm a business of collaboration, as are you. But the interesting thing is that you're a business of two, so there's no tiebreaker. So what do you do when you've got kind of like you're stuck between directions and you can't quite figure out how to choose? Do you guys have like a system of how to break the tie?
Yeah, I'm going to give you some information like from our company documents. So if we cannot agree on something, there's a breakdance battle happening. That's written.
Amazing.
None of us can breakdance, by the way. But besides, we never had to get to that point, and this is why we put that clause there. It was we did our due diligence in the beginning. We kind of agree on everything. Mostly there might be like a smaller thing, but what we agreed on is if something that is like we completely disagree on something, if we need to make a decision by tomorrow, we'll get into the closest thing possible and we make that decision. If it's something that has like another week, we try to convince each other. We have like a series of meetings. But it's important to mention that we're also a couple, so we are used to manage these conversations. So it kind of helps. Some people say like, don't go into business with your partner. You're going to ruin the relationship, both business and no. If you do it right, one helps the other one. So yeah.
I think your company documents or your policy is probably good. It's also, I love that you've actually written that in there because it's very, it's a little bit lighthearted, which is refreshing in a way. I know Elaine has told me like a story about where she's very driven and focused. And sometimes, you've said like, does this have to be done right now? Maybe we can wait. And I think that kind of perspective is interesting. And I think, the name of your company and some of what you just shared about how to break ties and stuff like that, there's a lightheartedness to two things at the same time. Obviously, you're trying to help your clients, but there's a sort of refreshing, fun quality to the way you're approaching the business.
We value quality work, and we're so like that's very important for us. So we're just like very into it, and sometimes it gets stressful that we need to find that balance too. We're like, okay, this doesn't need to be done right now. This is being very stressful right now, and we still have a long time. Let's stop now and then get back to it tomorrow. We'll have a fresh brain again.
Like a lot of times we talk about like the business of design, and design is a business and we do it for a living and we help provide a service to others. But I think sometimes you need to step away from the work in order to have perspective on it. And that's also why our clients are hiring us, is for our unique perspectives, right? Anything you guys can do within your own business, I think, to allow yourselves to maintain that fresh view on the work that you're doing is probably the better, right?
Yeah. It can be as simple as just shutting your computer, go outside for 20 minutes. I don't know. Just walk around, see different textures, see people, hear, like, don't bring your headphones. Like, just listen to the sounds that are around you. It makes you disconnect from the problem that you were looking at. And this is taught in therapy too. So it's like, it just applies to many different aspects of your life. Why not doing it for work?
Yeah. And your brain doesn't truly stop working on a problem. It just maybe sees it from a different place. It's interesting because our show or our podcast here it's really about bringing marketing and creative people, and business founders together to form kind of a shared language. And so we're trying to talk to people that are within those different areas. I think you're uniquely positioned because you work very closely with someone who's in marketing. So I'm just curious, is there anything that you've learned, like working with a marketer as a business partner? Is there a way that maybe they approach things differently than you would with the kind of design lens?
We are so similar. So I don't know if it's working with a marketer or with this specific marketer, because we both have the same attitude and approach to things. So one thing that I definitely learned is that I'm not the only one obsessing with optimizing all the processes and organizing files by a clear naming convention and all that stuff.
Because, so it's not okay to have a file say final, real final?
No. It's okay to say draft, and it's okay to say final. And then all the dates in versions. Yeah. Elaine usually says like that. She's like, "Oh, I sometimes forget that you never worked as a marketer per se. You worked in marketing departments because your brain is very strategic and like we think very closely. Yeah, I'm learning technical things and how to do the job, because in terms of strategy, I already had that mindset since I started working. I was always looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah, I mean, we love to classify things, but I think at the end of the day, I guess I could say we're all working in some capacity to create marketing. It's a really big umbrella in a lot of ways, and then there's a lot of segmented disciplines within making something that goes out into the world as marketing. Like, is there anything that you wish people understood before they started working with you?
Like in terms of marketing is not a science. It's not an exact science. Let's put it that way. There's a creativity, but there's also risk. Risk is a big part of it. You got to know we know what we are doing, but there's also many other factors that may influence to it. And it can't also be done in one click. Like it's a whole process. It requires a lot of work, requires a lot of coordination between teams, and it can't work in silos. If we're working to improve a company's position or to improve their closing rates on deals, like we have to work with their sales department very closely to understand what the clients are saying, understand what the message needs to be, and all that stuff. Expecting your marketing team to do a miracle, the miracle is done by the whole team.
Yeah, it's a very team sport. Is there anything that you guys have been working on lately at Go Banana that you're proud of, or that you're feeling is like really moving you guys in the right direction?
Yeah, definitely this work that we're doing for this tech health company. We're doing a complete rebrand from like a content perspective. We're doing their whole website from scratch as well. Hopefully bringing a lot more clear message about what they do, because it's an important product for people's health. So we're really excited about that.
Nice. Well, I'll have to check back with you guys in a couple of months then and see how things are going.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And then if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way they can do that?
Yeah, they can go to our website, gobanana.net. There's a beautiful form there. There's links to my LinkedIn there as well. And they can go from there.
Wonderful UX design. They'll be able to figure it out, no problem.
Exactly. Just press the button and you end up on the forum.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks for taking the time to hang out with us for the last hour or so. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Thanks for listening. If you're still here, you either loved it or you fell asleep with autoplay on. Either way, I'll take it. This show is produced by Cesar Barbosa with original music crafted by Sanctus Audio, mixing by Daruma Audio, and creative and episode support from Kian Nolan and Matt Martell, which is a lot of talent to keep me on track, and it only mostly works. If you enjoyed the conversation, follow the show and share it with someone who cares about marketing, craft, and story, and the messy reality of making great work. Until next time, keep following the tangent. I'm Garris Booth, and Creative Tangent is a podcast by The Booth, their strategic animation practice.